Hello and welcome, my friend, to Learn English. Today, I want to tell you a story. But this is not just any story. This is a real story. A story about life. It's about falling down and standing up again. It's about pain, hope, love, and strength. And while you listen to this story, something amazing will happen. You will learn English. Yes, you will learn new words, hear real sentences, and feel real emotion. This is not a grammar lesson. This is a life lesson. Before we continue, you will do me a great help by liking this video, comment where you are watching from, share the video, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Today, we follow the journey of Keanu Reeves. You may know him as the star of The Matrix or John Wick. But before the movies, before the fame, there was a boy. A boy who moved from place to place. A boy who lost people he loved. A boy who kept going, even when life was very hard. This story is not just to listen to, it's to feel. Because maybe you have struggled too. Maybe you also have a dream. Maybe you are learning English and it feels slow or difficult. But I want to tell you, you are not alone. And you can do it. Let's begin the story of Keanu Reeves. As you listen, you will learn English. And you might just learn something about yourself, too. Keanu Reeves was not born in Hollywood. He was not born rich. He was not born famous. He was born in Beirut, Lebanon, in 1964. His mother was English. His father was Hawaiian and Chinese. But very early in his life, things started to fall apart. When Keanu was only 3 years old, his father left the family. He would not be part of Keanu's life after that. His mother, now alone, had to take care of him and his sister. She moved them from one country to another, first to Australia, then to New York, and finally to Toronto, Canada. Keanu never stayed in one place for too long. He was always the new kid at school. New teachers, new classmates, new rules. It was hard to make friends. It was hard to feel at home. Keanu had a learning difficulty called dyslexia. It made reading very slow and difficult for him. Books were hard. Tests were hard. Sometimes teachers thought he wasn't smart. But that wasn't true. He was smart. He was thoughtful. He just learned differently. He didn't love school, but he loved learning in his own way. He asked big questions. He paid attention to people, and he found something he loved: hockey. He was a great goalie. In fact, people called him the Wall. Why? Because nothing got past him. When he was in the goal, it was almost impossible to score. He dreamed of playing professional hockey. He worked hard on the ice. But life had other plans. At home, life was still not easy. His mother worked different jobs to support the family. She worked hard, and she worked alone. Keanu saw this. He saw the struggle. He didn't have a big house. He didn't have expensive toys or games. But he had a strong heart. And he had love, from his mother and sister. He also had something very special. He was humble. He didn't think he was better than anyone. Even when things were difficult, he stayed kind. He was quiet, but he watched the world carefully. He listened. He learned. Sometimes, when we look at stars on the big screen, we think their lives are perfect. But many of them started with pain, with confusion, with loneliness. Keanu's early life was full of challenges. But those challenges helped build something inside him. Something strong. Something real. He didn't grow up with money, but he grew up with values: curiosity, hard work, kindness, and courage. Keanu Reeves didn't finish high school. He dropped out before graduation. Why? Because he had a dream. He wanted to act. For some people, that might sound crazy. No diploma, no college, no backup plan. But for Keanu, acting was more than just pretending. It was a way to understand people, to express emotion, to be free. He started acting in small theater plays in Toronto. Then he got a few roles on TV. They weren't big, but they were enough to keep him going. He worked hard. He memorized lines, practiced every day, and took every role seriously, even the small ones. Then came a big decision. He moved to Los Angeles, the city of dreams. But dreams don't come easy. In LA, everything was new. New people, a new culture, a new system. Even though he spoke English, it was still a different world. Hollywood was fast, loud, competitive. Keanu was not like most actors. He was quiet. He didn't go to big parties. He didn't try to be famous overnight. He just wanted to do good work. And slowly, he began to rise. In 1989, he starred in a movie called Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It was funny, silly, and people loved it. For the first time, Keanu became known. But he didn't stop there. He chose different kinds of movies, serious dramas, independent films. He wanted to learn, to grow. And in 1994, he starred in Speed, a huge hit. Now, he was no longer just an actor. He was a movie star. But success is not always easy. When you become famous, your life changes. People follow you. They talk about you. They judge you. But Keanu stayed grounded. He didn't change who he was. Then came The Matrix in 1999. This movie made history. It was new, exciting, deep, and Keanu was perfect for the role. He trained for months, martial arts, wire work, hours of practice every day. And when people watched the film, they didn't just see action. They saw a man asking deep questions. What is real? What is choice? What is freedom? Behind the scenes, Keanu did something amazing. He gave away millions of dollars from his paycheck to the special effects and costume teams. Why? Because he believed they deserved it. He said, "Money is the last thing I think about." But even as his career grew, life gave him more pain. In 1993, his best friend, River Phoenix, died from a drug overdose. They were like brothers. It broke Keanu's heart. In 1999, he and his partner, Jennifer Syme, were expecting a baby. But the baby was stillborn. She never took her first breath. A year later, Jennifer died in a car accident. Just like that, Keanu lost his whole family. The pain was deep. He didn't talk much about it, but you could see it in his eyes. He once said, "Grief changes shape, but it never ends." Even then, he kept going. He made more movies, but never chased attention. He gave to charity. He visited children's hospitals, without cameras, without press. He helped his sister, who was battling leukemia. He stayed by her side, quietly, patiently. Keanu was becoming something more than an actor. He was becoming a symbol of strength, of humility, of quiet goodness. In a world full of noise, he became the calm. Every person has a moment when life is no longer the same. For Keanu Reeves, that moment came through deep loss. He had just reached success. The Matrix was a global hit. People knew his name. He had money. He had fame. But at the same time, he had lost everything that really mattered. His baby daughter never opened her eyes. His partner, Jennifer, passed away soon after. His best friend was already gone. His sister was fighting cancer. So what did he do? He stepped away from the spotlight. He didn't run to the media. He didn't post pictures or quotes. He just lived, quietly, gently, one day at a time, and slowly he healed. Not all at once, but little by little. He went back to acting, not to escape the pain, but to work through it. He found meaning in doing good, even in small ways. He gave money to the people behind the scenes. He shared his wealth with the costume department, the makeup team, the stunt workers, people who usually don't get noticed. But Keanu noticed them. He took care of his sister, spending years helping her through cancer. He made donations without his name attached. He gave up part of his salary so others on the movie team could be paid more. He once said, "If you have been brutally broken, but still have the courage to be gentle to others, then you deserve a love deeper than the ocean." Keanu didn't try to compete with others. He tried to compete with himself, to become a better version of who he was yesterday. He became known as the kindest man in Hollywood, not because of what he said, but because of what he did. One time, someone filmed him on the subway. He was sitting like everyone else, and when a woman walked in, he stood up and gave her his seat. No cameras, no fans, just a simple act of kindness. He said, "I don't want to be part of a world where being kind is a weakness." And maybe that's the most powerful part of his story. He turned his pain into purpose. He turned his silence into strength. He turned his losses into love for others. Today, Keanu Reeves is more than just an actor. He is a global icon. He is the face of The Matrix, John Wick, Constantine, and so many other powerful films. He is admired in Hollywood, in Asia, in Europe, in small towns and big cities all over the world. But here's what's special. He is still the same Keanu. He still takes the subway. He still lives a quiet life. He still helps people behind the scenes. He is not loud. He doesn't show off. He doesn't wear expensive clothes or buy fancy cars. He gives, he shares, he listens. In a world full of noise, Keanu is calm. In a world full of ego, Keanu is humble. In a world that asks, "What can I get?" Keanu asks, "What can I give?" And that's what makes his story so powerful. Because yes, he became successful. Yes, he became rich and famous. But he never let success change his heart. He stayed grounded. He remembered his mother's hard work. He remembered his sister's fight. He remembered his losses. But he used them to grow. He once said, "The simple act of paying attention can take you a long way." And that's what he teaches us. You don't have to be loud to be strong. You don't have to be rich to give. You don't have to be perfect to make a difference. Maybe you are still learning English. Maybe you are still trying to find your place in the world. Maybe life is not easy right now. But remember, every kind action you take matters. Every word you learn is a step forward. Every time you get back up, you are growing. Keanu's story is not just about movies. It's about courage. It's about kindness. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, no matter where you start. So keep going. Be patient. Work hard. And most of all, believe in your own story. You've just listened to the story of Keanu Reeves. But this wasn't only about him. It was also about you, your dreams, your learning, your growth. And while you listened, you were doing something powerful. You were learning English. This story used simple, clear language, real-life words, real emotions, real situations, not just grammar rules or vocabulary lists, because we believe. You learn best when you feel something. You saw new words in context. You heard how English is used in real storytelling. You followed a timeline, a journey, and as Keanu grew, so did you. You practiced listening. You built your vocabulary. You connected English to real life. Let's take a moment to reflect. You heard words like humble, grief, compete, courage, and you learned what they mean through emotion. You followed simple sentence structures that were easy to understand, but deep in meaning. You practiced how English sounds, how it flows in a real conversation, not just a textbook. And most importantly, you stayed engaged because you cared about the story. That's the secret to language learning. It's not about memorizing, it's about connecting. So here's your next step. Watch again. Pause and repeat. Write down words you didn't know. Speak them out loud. Use them in your life. And always remember, when you learn through story, you don't just remember the words, you remember the feeling. So thank you for joining us on this journey. Thank you for listening with your heart. And thank you for learning with courage. There are many more stories to come. More heroes. More lessons. More English to discover. Until next time, keep learning, keep believing, and never stop growing.